on this webinar has seen your work and knows what I'm referencing. But Andrew's work, if you haven't seen it, the work at that show, he had these plinths that were based off of the floor plan of the slave ship Brooks. And I mean, just that alone would have been an amazing show by itself, just taking the architecture of the slave hull and just giving it to us in scale so that we could experience what that's like. But then you took it to another level where you started adding these very personal effects, even dreadlocks that had been cut off by your classmates, your own dreadlocks, and visibly being able to see what a bale of cotton looks like. That's the equivalent to the average man's body. I mean, you have, your work has all of these details, but I want to know more about like there's a slavery, the long-term memory, the things that are encoded within the DNA, but then you also have these personal, lived experience memories that connect to your family and even things that are happening with you personally. I want to know a little bit more about that and how that informs all of your body of work and who Andrew Wilson is as an artist. I know that's a lot.
I think, well, yes, and really important. I think what happened is I was working so hard on that clothing line series that was really about the ratios that were part of the deck plan of the Brooks, and really looking at the transatlantic slave trade as, probably more of an academic space. And after doing that for so long, I realized that that work doesn't necessarily have the spirit in it. Like it was lacking that because it was very academic work. And I think that it was easier for me to make work that I could keep distance from than making work that was of me and my family and my history and my own story. And I think that kind of ties to writing and poetry and my time in Youth Speaks, because we realize that the most important stories that we know are the stories that are extremely personal, because we can connect to something that's deeply personal. We always can, because there's something that's part of all of us in something that's very vulnerable and deeply personal. So that's how I kind of veered into this space and had wanted to do for a long time. And so the work, especially with the locks, like that piece is really intense. And I wish I could show you, it's across the street, but I can't get in the building. But so that work was made at Cal. It was my final semester, my final critique. And I was like about to be done. And I had these locks I'd grown for 5 years, and I finished undergrad in that hair. I had my heart broken in that hair. I started grad school in that hair. I worked my first job at a college in that hair. And so it was time for it to go. And I actually put a lot of jewelry in my hair. I'm waiting for this to get longer so I can put stuff back in. It's gonna happen. And so when I think about that, it makes me think of a portrait. So it's the idea of portraiture, and I think that that's tying into the question that you're asking about memory and ephemera, objects, and material. I think what I'm exploring now is, how do we think about portraiture without the figure? So how is a portrait a collection or an accumulation of spirit of that person? And so the film is really crazy. If you haven't watched it, it's on my website, and that's aiwart.com, and someone will put it in the chat, because I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it, but someone will. But that film was my cohort cutting all of my hair And so the film goes with the work, but they also exist separately. So that film is currently at Franklin Street Works in Connecticut. And the hair piece, that portrait or that sculpture, is here in Charlotte.
Okay.
It's nuts. So I'm trying to figure out how to wrap all of this cleanly back into the question that you asked because it's a very large question.
It is a large question. I mean, and I think the way that you're asking, you know, I just want to kind of go with the flow of that and the fact that so for people who haven't seen the video, it's everyone coming up and with scissors and cutting his hair. And by everyone, you know, hair for Black folks is this very personal thing and has this centuries long history of why, you know, when Solange has a you know, powerful song of "Don't Touch My Hair," Andrew is inviting people who are not Black to come and not just touch his hair but cut it off as part of this performance. So you know, I don't know if you could possibly be even more vulnerable than that whole act. So I mean, I think all of this, even though it's a separate act, it does tie in to the histories. It is very personal, and it goes into your narratives. And I think in this way, that, you know, even you had it paired at the show at MOAD with a chair. That I don't remember anymore, though, if the chair was based off of a chair that had been stuffed with human hair.
So that chair, and thank you, Hannah, for putting my website on the chat, folks. You can go check it out too. So that's really, thank you, Hannah. That chair, the idea is based on a conversation that I had with Brian Keith Thomas, and he was telling me about this chair that this family owned and they had reupholstered. And so they sent it to an upholsterer and it was stuffed with human hair. Now that's kind of the base idea. And so the chair that was at MOAD is based in, it's made in the American Empire style chair. And that style was popular from 1800 to 1850. So a precursor to the Emancipation Proclamation. And it's made of poplar wood and stuffed with cotton that hasn't been ginned, so cotton that still has seed, and human hair. So my brother had a big mohawk, and he cut it off, and I was like, Cam, I know you know that I'm weird. I know you know I'm weird. Can I have that? And it's, oddly enough, I do have collections of locks sitting in a box on the floor. There's going to be some really dope work that's going to be happening with it, and I'll tell y'all about it in a little bit. And so he was, I mean, very generous to give that to me, and also not question the random thing that I'll probably do. Is like, all right, I cut it off. Go ham, I guess. I don't know. Like, so. But yeah, so that piece was paired. It was sitting in front of the self-portrait lock sculpture, and then to the left of it was the projected video in that show.
Yeah, I mean, I think aside from that, you know, another material that I identify your work with, you know, that has found its way in your most recent exhibitions has been the cyanotype. And can you talk about cyanotype, even what it is, you know, to start off, and why does that recur in your work time and time again, including in the photo for this talk that we're having right now?
Yeah, it is. It's so funny. It totally is. And that work that's in the photo is an old work. That's actually one of the first cyanotypes I did on fabric in 2012. Okay. That's an old work. So cyanotype, it's kind of the oddball. And I think the important thing with cyanotype for me is that there's no way to get it perfect. And I am extremely methodological. I'm an extreme perfectionist. If anyone disagrees with that, I don't think that you know who I am. And so cyanotype is the wrench in the system to me.
Okay.
And I learned cyanotype in undergrad from Jeff Nyland. Jeff Nyland is super amazing. If you don't know who he is, check out his work. He does these incredible cyanotypes. They're massive. And so I learned it and I was like, this is kind of cool, I guess. And then I was in New York with the New York Arts Program. And we had to make a piece in New York for our time there. And so when I was in New York, I was interning with Fred Wilson. And if y'all don't know who Fred Wilson is, he's amazing. Check him out. I love Fred. He's awesome. So I interned with him for about 6 months, 5-6 months. And the work that was created was called Shop. And I don't know if there are any images of it on the site. It's very hard to make books or to photograph books. But that piece was a collaborative work between myself and Joshua Merchant, who is an incredible poet, incredible writer, incredible human. And it's images of the barbershop that are cyanotype on 100% cotton rag with poems overlaid in transparency on them.
Okay.
And so that's kind of where cyanotype was for me. And then I went home for winter break, and when I was at home, I was like, hold on a second. If this is an aqueous solution, so cyanotype as a technique is a 2-chemical thing. So it's potassium ferrocyanide and ferric ammonium citrate. Generally, if you look at it, it's going to be called cyanotype formula A and B. Very easy, very, very easy. You don't need to know all the chemistry stuff. And you mix these 2 chemicals together and they create a light sensitive solution. And you take that solution and you coat your substrate. Most people are using paper. There are a lot of folks that are using fabric. There's even some folks that have been experimenting with cyanotype on ceramic. And I've been working in cyanotype on glass. And some of those are also in, some of those are on the website if you check them out. Cyanotypes on glass. I need to update it, and I'm kind of a caveman, so I'm bad at updating my website. We're doing it soon, I think, because quarantine.
Yep.
So, so that's kind of the technique. And the thing I enjoy about cyanotype is that it's not cost prohibitive. Anyone can do it. It's very, very accessible, and you don't need much to do it. You just need a room that can be pitch black, or I shouldn't say pitch black, a room that can be UV light tight, because cyanotype doesn't react with anything that's not UV. Well, it does, but it happens so much slower that it's not, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm.
And then water. You just need water and sunlight, and that's kind of it. So with cyanotype for me, I think that as a process, I enjoy the blue. I think that the blue is an allusion to music. It's an allusion to water, especially with the process itself is sunlight and water. And I print on cotton, and I only print on cotton.
Okay.
But there's, again, no way to get it perfect. I've been working in cyanotype for at least 8 years, and I can't get it perfect, but I can get real close.
And by perfect, you mean like capturing or relaying every single detail, or what do you mean? What do you mean by when you say perfect? Because your work is perfect in my eyes.
It's because you're not a crazy perfectionist like me. Or I shouldn't even say that. It's because you're not in my head with all the craziness in my head.
You mean perfectly straight lines, perfect consistency?
No, not even that. Just like the exposure, the midtones. Something that happens with fabric that's really interesting that I actually hated at first is it prints the wrinkles in the fabric. So the wrinkles are always printed. So they almost look like light reflecting off of a rippling water surface. It's really, really interesting. And I hated it at first. I was like, I hate this. This is supposed to be blue. Why does it look like this? And now I've grown to really like it. And I've found some techniques to not get as much of it, but still allow for that possibility.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mean, kind of at this point, because I think we're running short on time, and I definitely want to
Yeah,
allow time for the
yeah,
audience to ask their questions. I see we
yeah.
already have a couple in the Q&A, and so
Yeah,
as
yeah.
you know, just I'll pause, and as people, we won't do it yet, but
Mhm.
as you have questions for Andrew, I invite you to put them in either the chat window. We'll check there as well. There's also a Q&A window, so put them in either place. We have time, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to allow Harley. We have time,
Well,
but I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to ask your questions as well within our hour
yeah.
time together.
Well, let me show you what I'm working on. Let's do that instead of just sitting static. And then let's go to questions. How does that sound?
I love it. I love it.
Okay. So I'm gonna take, and it's charged for all y'all folks who are telling me to charge my stuff. It's charged right now. It's been on the charger. So we're at 93%. So we're
Wonderful.
good.
That would be
All
the
right.
worst thing is you just stopped.
How do I? Okay, there we go. So,
Ooh.
and I need to change my thing. Wait, no, don't go there. Okay, there we go. So this is the larger piece that I've been working on. This is called Gateway. This is made with not the hats, not those, the quilt. So it's made with my grandmother's fabrics and one of my mother's bed sheets that I hand quilted along with these quilt circles. So I organized a couple of quilt circles thanks to the folks here at McColl, and we had some folks come in and we quilted together to make this.
That is
So
amazing.
that's this piece. There's a couple more iterations of it. So this will be, I need to finish the hats, and then from the remnants, I can make the book cloth for the dream journal that goes with it. And I plan on sleeping under it for at least a month, probably longer, and recording all the dreams that happen while I'm sleeping under this, because I believe that a quilt is a portal. I think that it's a gateway, and I believe it's connecting my family legacy and history. So I think that sleeping under it will kind of enact or open that portal in dream space. So then the next piece is, this is portraits of DE in 5 acts. So these hats are bucket hats. She had this one, this is based on the one that I remember. It's made of kind of a cream cotton twill, and the lining is this red polka dots. And so hers was just red on the inside. And so that's what kind of started this whole exploration. And these are, again, made with all of her fabrics, and they're adorned with her jewelry. So some of it is jewelry that is straight out of her costume jewelry collection. Some of it is stuff that I had to rework and work on. And then she had these little guardian angels, these little guys here.
Wow.
I really, really love. So that's that stuff. If we go over here, I told y'all I'm in a condo, just chilling. These are pieces that I'm working on right now too. This one is called Drip, and I don't know what this one's called. I just finished it yesterday. And
Wow.
these are scanned 35 millimeter film that's printed on fabric and then quilted, and then the shells are embroidered on.
So are these your photographs, or are these also
Yes.
found photographs? Okay.
Yeah, these are mine. So the one on the left, Drip, that's from 2013. That was at my cousin's graduation from Spelman. And then the one on the right that currently has no title is from the lookbook that goes with the clothing line Fruit. And I believe that lookbook is on my website if you want to check that stuff out. And what else? Oh, so these hats also have hat boxes, and that's what I'm working on here. And the hat boxes are going to be lined with these Eastern stars, and then the lid is lined with the amaranth crown. Well, my grandmother was an Eastern Star, and I know I'm terrible and I shouldn't have read the ritual books. Y'all can yell at me all you want, but I totally did. And there's a verse from Matthew that's read during the funerary rite. So that is on the interior of the box. And I believe that these are, they're kind of funerary urns or burial containers for my grandmother and her spirit.
Wow, see, that's what I'm saying. This everything has a story that you go with it. And how are those printed? That's clearly not cyanotype.
No,
What are you
so
doing there?
these are printed actually on a printer. So I have a technique to print images on fabric
Wow.
just with an at-home printer. Y'all, YouTube is the G, all right? Y'all can learn anything on YouTube Academy, and then you just have to figure out how you apply it in the ways that make sense for you. Uh, Another piece down here, y'all are like, what the hell is this? So this is broom corn, and I'm gonna be making brooms, altar brooms that are, and I told y'all I have locks, like I have bags of locks. These are locks. They're all chilling
Wow.
in there. And so the handles will be woven with locks, and they will have moonstones. So that's a whole lot of moonstones. They'll have moonstones, Bethel and sterling, integrated into the handles. Moonstone is supposed to be a stone that protects travelers at night over bodies of water under the light of the full moon. And so I really believe that moonstone's kind of a gateway or a means of opening portals. And I made myself like moonstone gauges. Like that's how serious it is. All right.
Wow.
And then what else? What's happening up in here? I think the boring stuff is in here. I'm making masks because I'm broke. So I got to make masks to make some money.
You are a jack of all trades and an expert at every single one of them. Jeez.
And then this is a really, really large quilt that I can't find the end of, so I can't open it for you because it's somewhere wrapped up. But it's too big for this condo, so I can't even baste it down to the batting. I can't quilt it yet, so it's gonna sit there for a while. But anyway, that's what I'm working on. How do I change? There we go. Boom. Yeah, I'm back. So that's what I'm working on at the moment.
Wow, that is a lot. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's a good thing that you have this extra time, right? You can realize all these other intricate projects that you have going on.
Right.
So yeah, so I mean, you just I can clearly see now you are integrating all of these you're integrating all of these things that you've been working on for the last couple of decades with the jewelry. The cyanotype it looks like it's still coming in here. You've got these new print techniques, and the fabric is ever present. Yeah, I'm interested in your process now. You know, some artists have to meticulously plan everything out before they execute. Some folks work more intuitively. I'm not sure how you work. It seems like it's a combination of them all. And can you kind of like talk about the processes that you take for coming up with these different ideas, or does it depend on the medium?
I can't say it's a completely straightforward process. I think if I said that, it'd be a terrible, terrible lie. What I can say is I believe in the power of three. So if an idea comes back 3 times, then I'll choose to move through and work through it. I think that, especially in my time in undergrad, what was really important was learning the difference between listening to the work and spirit and the material and imposing my own ideas on it. Anytime that I just imposed my own ideas or my desires onto the work or the material, it always failed. Always. It was always a failure. And I don't know if it translated to other people as a failure, but it never felt right whenever I worked that way. So I sometimes keep notes. I don't sketch. Okay. I can't sketch at all. I think that anytime I sketch something and commit it to paper, it's like casting a spell. And so if I do that, then it doesn't have the wiggle room to change and to be plastic in the ways that it needs to be.
Okay.
And I have a really terrible memory. And so if something keeps on coming back, like if it keeps on nagging and coming back, then I follow it. But I try not to follow my first impulse.
Okay.
Unless it's something that I just like am trying out. So this fabric printing technique, I printed these photos because they were sitting on my computer, and I haven't worked in this type of photography in a long time. And so I was like, let's just see what they do. Because I was testing the technique. But if it's a more serious pursuit, I usually try to make sure I know the technique pretty well, and then just trusting that I know my skill sets. I know it's going to turn out fine because I have the skill sets to make the work. Okay, so I don't have to worry about the skill set. So I think that's mostly the process.
Yeah, you said that like, oh, you just try this thing out. But yeah, I mean, I think it definitely works because of this long amount of time you've spent honing your craft. You know, it's not just something, you know, I don't think I could just pick up some fabric and start printing and have them look as clear as you have them looking. Or most other people. I want to go into some of the questions that folks have on here. I have a couple other questions for you, but let's see. We kind of I think the first one we kind of answered. Let's see. So Edward wants to know, how do you climb out of your slump when it occurs? And do you think the work suffers because of it?
Wow. That's a really good question. That's a super good question. So it seems like it happens in like 4 or 5 day cycles, at least like in this current like moment of slump. So I'm going to try to answer it in this current moment, and then maybe a broader answer too. So I think at this current moment, I have to trust that I have to feel however I'm feeling, and I have to let that pass. Because if I don't address it and if I ignore it, it's going to get bigger and it's going to get worse. And also trusting that like there is an end to it. Like it's not going to last forever. And so I think that is the hard